Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Fair Life with Andrew McKee. Yes, I am actually conscious in everything. It's pretty wild. Um, I long weekend and everything with daylight savings time and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was a long weekend. I'm a little sore and also probably a little hoarse after the weekend. I really sang my heart out a little bit, and I know some of you can appreciate what that's like. But yeah, I'm rested up and doing well, and it was a fun, crazy weekend. A lot better than what I was expecting. I'll say that. Yeah, I really, because of the weather report saying that it was going to be a little cold and windy, I was afraid it might be kind of a rough weekend, but it got warm pretty quick during the days and wasn't as cold as we thought it would be, and it wasn't as windy as they projected, or at least the wind didn't affect the fair as much. So I'll take it. And hello everyone. Hey Jan and Katsarita and Gwendolyn and Kurt and Drew and Damaris and Susan and Jessica, yeah, and Kathy and Janine. Hey, thanks for joining. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was a fun fair time. I know. Yeah, I I enjoyed it a good bit. The weird thing for me was that I was on six different stages. Well, I'm sorry, five different stages. I had six stage shows, but five different stages, which was a first for me. I think in the past I've had as many as maybe four stages, four different stages once in a day, but usually it's no more than three. So I was walking around everywhere. It was pretty interesting. And Susan, yes, a fairly fun uh, day at Fair. That is true. That is very, very true. Yes. And hey, David. Hey, thanks for joining. And David O'Leary was one of the people I got to jam with. We shared one of the shows I had together, and that was always fun, which really helped since it was a stage I hadn't played at in a while. So yeah, I mean, stages like that, there are pros and cons. And I'm sure most of you have never really thought about this, but having a lot of shows at several different stages, it can be nice because you get to, you know, go at different places in the fair that you may not normally play music at. So you get to kind of see some new people, maybe get some new fans, and that's always fun. Generally, I've found that patrons, when they go to fair regularly, several times a season, they kind of get in those grooves where this is the pub I like to go to, this is the place I like to eat, and these are the shops I like to hang out in. And they tend to frequent certain sections primarily more than others. So, yeah, playing at different parts of the fair can be good. But and Drew, yes, I know you've thought about this since you do stages, sure. Um, and honestly, I do think that doing all the different stages this last weekend, there were some people that came to my show that I don't think would have seen me if I hadn't done that, if I'd had the same schedule I had last weekend, for instance. Um, and yeah, yeah. Oh, and Janine, yeah, you're right. The acoustics are very different at each stage. I mean, one of the stages I played at had amplification. That was the one I was at for I think what four of my shows the first weekend, and I was only there for two this weekend, so I only had to deal with microphones for two stages, two shows. That was kind of strange. The others were all acoustic, and you're right. The acoustics are very different for each stage. Um, some are better than others, definitely. But and thanks Damaris. Yeah, the Horseman. I like I said, I haven't been there in a while, and it's a different kind of stage. They added a good bit to it since the last time I was there. Some good shade coverings and all of that, but it was still definitely a different show, and I really had a lot of fun playing with David O'Leary and Alan Adale out at Fair, and we had a great time jamming and playing some songs because, well, we enjoy jamming together. That's one of the best parts about going to Fair. When you're just a musician playing at a pub or something like that, or a coffee shop, you're alone, and that's going to be your show and that's your day. But at Fair, you're surrounded by some other really talented musicians that it's a blast to get to play with. And those jam sessions are some of the best times that I've ever had at Faire. So it's a lot of fun. And oh, you're right, Jessica, kind of a runny CrossFit going around to different fairs. Definitely, definitely. Um, but yeah, yeah. And Jessica, yeah, like the trip before pub scene. That's a lot of people will go there. And yes, yes. Oh, and thanks, David. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun too. So yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that because we might be doing it again next weekend. I don't know. Oh, and yeah, Jessica. Okay, okay. Now it's a smaller stage and it's a weird location. Um, so yes, I get what you're saying, but the, I mean, horrible I think is an overstatement because for me, it's just very different. It's a different challenge, and it is interesting. I will say, when but David and I were there, I we didn't have a huge crowd, but the people that were there really got into it and really enjoyed it, and we got really great compliments afterwards. They said, "Well, yeah, this is probably the last show I'm at today. We're heading out, but this is a great way to end it. I mean, had a great time. Thanks, guys." And that's always great to hear. So, there's that mentality sometimes for performers that you want a large stage with 200 people in the audience kind of thing, and you go for quantity. And sometimes I think you sacrifice quality because there's something nice about that intimate type of show where you only have a few. I mean, don't get me wrong, both have their place, and I would love to trade off and do a huge show and a small show back and forth throughout the day. I'm fine with that. But if you just did large shows, I mean, there's a reason that some of the big name bands do those small little pub gigs and in small towns or even in large towns or cities. They'll go back and do that because yeah, it's not as much money as playing Madison Square Garden, but I mean, it's a little back to their roots and it is a little more intimate and fun in a way. It's a little more personal, and that is always a nice thing. And that is always a nice thing. And I agree, David. Yeah, the him and I we both play at the Fairy Garden Party as well at 3 o'clock, and that is I mean, we only play a few songs, a few tunes, and kind of as filler in between there. They do a great show there for kids, and it's wonderful. But we do get to play a few tunes and have some fun, and that's a good thing too. That is a very good thing too. Um, oh, and Jan, yeah, you see, and and I think that's kind of the point I was making about that people like their own section of Faire. They'll like their own shops or their own pub, or they'll get what they like, and I think some people will like will like not like a stage, and they'll prefer a different one, and some people will actually like that stage, and I think it's the same thing. And having that one size fits all approach to Faire, I think, is a huge mistake, and some fairs make that mistake, but Sherwood is not one of them, and that's really good. And Drew, oh yeah, why you're a close-up magician, yeah, definitely, because that it does have that intimate level of you're interacting with every single person in the audience in a way, where in a huge audience they're just a bunch of nameless faces. I mean, you do your best. You always do your best to try to make that connection and make it as personal as possible. But there's just a line you really can't get beyond. You try, but you just can't. You do the best you can. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for both, always. uh, yeah, yeah. And Janine, yeah, I do like that too. I always try to jam a little bit before my show, either do a sound check or play a couple of tunes or just do whatever, even a little before the time starts because that can be a fun time. And I try to talk to people who are at the show beforehand and get to know them because I've known them for years or whether it's the first time, because people are interesting and it's always a pleasure to get to know other people. So yeah. Um, oh, okay, okay. So that was your problem with it, Jessica, with the Horseman stage, that the acoustics. It's tough with the acoustics because you get some sound from different areas around you, and it is a very open area. So there's a lot of noise coming from different sections. And I'll agree with you that that is a challenge. But at the same time, I think the location needed a stage. It needs something. And yeah, it's one of those things where that stage has been there, I think, since the beginning, or at least near it, the first year of Sherwood. And sometimes you get locked into that. And eventually, I have a feeling they'll probably do a serious overhaul and change some stuff to tweak it. But, you know, that's always down the road on the budget. I mean, they did do some serious repair work, I think, recently, from what I could tell, on it, and added some stuff to certainly help. And I think the sunshades they put above really made a difference. It's surprising how much that changes things. Like at the pub scene yesterday, after daylight savings times kicked in, the sun was right in my face when I played the song that I do for pub sing, and that was I couldn't see the audience at all. And you know, I mean, that's not entirely uncommon at some indoor stages where they have blinding lights on you to light you up on stage. Often you can't see the audience in those situations because it's a darkened hall with lights in your eyes. But even so, I actually prefer looking at the audience. I know some people are a little intimidated by that and maybe suffer from stage fright or whatever, anxiety, and looking at the audience is not something they like. I'm the opposite. I feed off the audience, and I also get feedback. I mean, it's not just energy, but it's also, I can get an idea of, did that joke work? Are they enjoying this song? Maybe I need to cut a verse in there and let's end this song sooner and then get to a better song that people seem to like. I mean, it's very handy to be able to see the audience. I really, yeah. No, it's okay, Jessica. Like I said, everybody can have your own attitude about a stage. I mean, there are stages I like more than others, definitely. So no, you don't apologize for your preference. No, I totally get it. I totally get it. I mean, we all have our preferences, fair, and that's why there's so many differences between all the different areas of Faire, as it should be. So yeah, no, I totally, your opinion is very valid. Don't worry about it. Yeah, and Damaris, yeah, you're right. That for you, the Horseman stage is kind of like your home, and is no stage is going to be ideal, but you make the best of it, and you develop. Especially if you have one stage that is mostly the one you play at, you start developing a fan base there, and people start associating you with the stage, which can be a very good thing. And oh yeah, and Cat Street is right. It is near a food court and with a lot of seating, and there's always a good number of people who don't come in close to the benches there, but they'll get food and kind of sit a bit farther away, but they will listen and they'll applaud when you're done with your songs and everything. I mean, it's sort of like a very long, wide stage in a way because of that. Not necessarily, it doesn't always look as like you have a full audience, but it's a lot fuller than you think it is. So that's always interesting. And yeah, sun in your eyes is a little rough. But like I said, if you've never experienced it, it's a bit jarring. But if you've done those, like at conventions especially, I've had stages where there were hundreds of people in the audience and blinding spotlights on me. And I think the most I've ever done was, playing at the costume contest at Dragon Con one year during the judging. That was a challenge. And I think there were several thousand people in the audience, and it was broadcast throughout the convention on TV. So they had spotlights on us. We couldn't really see anyone. So that was weird. But you get used to that. You just assume the people are there and try to listen for the laughter when it's important. Oh, really? You think when doing improv, not seeing the audience is a plus? I guess I could see that because you kind of get into it. I've never really looked at it that way, but I can see why you would. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and David's saying the new benches with backrests. Yeah, they used to just have standard benches, but now they have benches with a back to it so that you can lean back, and people really enjoy that. It also has the added benefit of keeping people from like just using it to eat and turning their back to us while we're on stage, which I've always found very almost insulting. I get people just want to hang out and talk to their friends and eat, and they don't necessarily want to pay attention to a show, and I get that. Sometimes, sometimes it's appropriate when you're doing a show to just look at it as your background music. Some pubs are like that when you do a pub show and people are really talking with their friends and drinking, and that's what the atmosphere calls for. So you just do background music and people soak up that atmosphere. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of prefer, those benches that force people to face you personally. But, maybe I'm a little egocentric that way. But, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that you guys put up the sunshades and flags. I did not know that. I thought the fair did that. Well done, you guys. Well done. That is great. I actually, yeah, I really like them. I thought those helped out a lot. Those really helped out. Not just for the sun, but I mean, like what Jessica said about the sound, the acoustics being a problem. I think it actually helps some with the acoustics as well. I think it really does. I think it blocks out some of the external noise, and that's a good thing. So I think it really helps in many ways. So good job, y'all. Really. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. You're not the first person to say that. I honestly try not to look at myself in the mirror or look at videos of me doing shows because I've always been worried that I would get self-conscious if this is not practiced. What I do with my face, I don't, I just do it. And people seem to like it, so I just don't question it and I move on. That's been my approach. That has been my approach. You are an evil man, Kurt. You are an evil man. Uh, yeah, get scheduled on 7 stages of the 6. No, I think next week I'm going to try to see if I can consolidate a little bit and not be on as many stages. But I don't mind switching around a little bit. I mean, Sherwood is just it's uncommon for fairs to really just switch out like that. But Sherwood is really good at mixing it up. They have so many guest performers come in for one weekend, or limited run groups that come in for 2 weekends or 3 weekends or something like that, and it all mixes around, and they have to find the space for everybody. And I think one of the reasons I sometimes get moved around a little bit more than maybe some of the other groups is because I'm flexible. I can kind of fit any stage. I can play a kids show if I need to on the children's stage. I can do a history type show. I can do a pub show, and I'm used to doing a lot of different things like that, so it's not a problem for me. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. Oh, thanks, Kim. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you had a good time. That's always the goal. I mean, and that should always be the goal. Everybody who works at the fair should be trying to make sure everybody just has a good time throughout the day. And if you can do that, it's a victory. So that's always the goal. Oh, yeah. And then I'm glad you appreciate the backrest too. Yeah, and Drew, that's kind of what I meant by background. Sometimes it can really be good to just have background music. I know a lot of the booths around stages really appreciate it because you get a lot of different music throughout the day, and it's like having that extra sound and music that they can listen to. Because sometimes when you're working at a booth, or shop or whatever, it can get pretty boring over the day, especially on Sunday mornings kind of thing. So having some music to listen to is surprisingly helpful. Wow, well, now you're gonna make me blush, Kristen, but thanks. Okay, no, I'm blushing. Shut up. Stop. Okay. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the candids. They actually helped a lot, Jessica. I really appreciated that. Now, of course, the tough part on last weekend was, well, daylight savings time, because we all lost an hour. And yeah, that was a bit rough, but yeah. That's that was an interesting time. I know I did my best to get as much sleep as I could, but I did lose an hour that I would have. I did not get as much sleep as I would have liked, but I did all right. So I was pretty awake last weekend. Certainly better than the first weekend where I did not get much sleep Friday night. But yeah, it was daylight savings can be kind of a rough thing sometimes. But uh, I don't know. I don't know how much y'all really know about the history of daylight savings time. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of talk now about making it permanent, and it seems to be really uh, it might actually happen in the not too distant future. I don't know. It seems like serious discussion. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. That yeah, it, we'll see. We'll see how what happens with daylight savings time. But a little trivia actually, if you want to get into that. You know how I love that. Daylight savings time. It's historically apparently started with Benjamin Franklin, but it's not exactly true. Um, he wrote a paper about it in the 1700s in France, sort of as a satire, presenting it as an extreme example, making fun of some of the French laws they were considering throwing out or enacting. And I mean, he was talking about a tax on window shutters and all these other extremes, and let's save candles by moving the clock back during the summer, and approaching it that way. That was his extreme example. It wasn't really meant to be taken seriously, but I still want to give him credit because I make so many jokes throughout the day, and sometimes people will take me seriously and say that's a great idea, and I'm like, oh no, now I've got to actually do it, don't I? And a lot there. It's surprising how many things I do now started out as a joke and turned into a real thing. The number of songs I do now that started out as jokes, I really don't want to admit. I don't really want to admit it. But yeah, but yeah. Anyway, daylight savings time. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it is interesting. It is interesting. Um, Yeah, and that's is something I do want to mention. You're right, David, that Sherwood has a 3-day weekend this coming up weekend. That's going to be interesting. Because it's spring break, they add the Friday on there, which, it's an odd, it's not kind of like a regular holiday 3-day weekend. So it's kind of interesting, but it does work well. It does work really well. Um, oh, yeah, yeah. And that's, yeah, we're all kind of in this together. Of course, another little bit of trivia, the whole around the equator, they don't really follow daylight savings time because there's not much variation in the seasons with where the sun, how much daylight they have. It kind of works out to about the same, so it's not really a big deal. It's fairly negligible difference. So yeah, they don't really follow it down there. It's all only up here and down way south in the southern hemisphere. Yeah, half hour beer medley. That's a good example of a song that started out as a joke. And I made the joke, and somebody said, that's a great idea. Really have to be careful with those jokes. I really do. Really, really do. Um, no, 3-day weekend is, it's not that bad. It really isn't. Brennies are very adaptable. So, yeah, I don't think the 3-day weekend is going to be a problem. I get 3-day weekends are actually very popular for fairs. They love it. And the reason why is because, well, it's an extra day that they don't have to expand the fair really. I mean, they're open on weekdays, technically. They have staff, people working, security, all this kind of stuff that's going on because they have people camping out there during the week and stuff going on during the week. So, it's just an extra day of ticket sales for them. They love it. And they can also raise vendor fees a little bit for that extra day too. So they just make more money. It's a great day for them. Performers, a lot of us are around as well because we're here for the full run. And we can, it's another day of selling CDs, making tips, playing music. So, hey, it's usually a win-win. But yeah, you're right. Cast, oh man, that's rough. Y'all have it bad. Sorry, guys. Yeah, y'all are on the losing end of that one. So, sorry. You got your 3 days. Because the tough part is some people have day jobs they can't get out of on cast. So when you get that, especially on this where it's not an official holiday type thing, they have to work. So a lot of understudies suddenly, boom, get pushed up and they're doing the gig on Friday. So it can be interesting. It'll be interesting. Right. Arizona for a few, and that's true. Arizona and Hawaii are the two states I believe that don't follow daylight savings. Yes, yes, uh, and yeah, Indiana switched back. That's true. Yeah. Oh well. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and that's part of the thing. They got the whole working hard during spring break, and yeah, when you have those jobs, because yeah, well, especially cast, it's really tough. They have that whole thing going. They have that whole thing going. Oh my gosh, look at the time. It's like already wow, 7:26. Oh, I talk about Faire and I talk about daylight savings time, and the next thing you know, I'm in a rush. No, we can do this. We can do this. Okay, okay. Yes, 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 yes. We can do this. Okay. Let's see. Okay, first let's talk about the fairs that are coming up this weekend. Of course, you know Sherwood is, so I've talked about that a good bit. But yeah, let's jump on that. Yeah, we've got the fair map. It's a little different from last week, so kind of interesting. Let's make this full. Except I just realized I didn't include sound on the full screen. This is still my new setup, and yeah, hold on. Let me do this real quick. I'll switch over and add sound. Okay, we have sound. Yay! Whew, that was close. Okay, so here we are. We've got sound, and let's see. Um, okay, so we have the fairs in Florida again, same as last week. The Florida Renaissance Festival in Deerfield Beach, and the Bay Area Renaissance Festival in Dade City, Florida. Then we have the Sherwood Forest Fair in Texas. Then on the northeast corner of Oklahoma, in Veneta, or Oklahoma, there's the Queens Ferry Renaissance Festival. So something to check out. And then over in California, I don't normally throw these in, but I try to when there's not much else going on. The High Desert Pirate Fair is in Hesperia, California. So a pirate festival. Kind of in more central, I mean, kind of in the middle of California. So interesting to have a pirate fair away from the ocean, but hey, that's kind of interesting. I'm gonna look into that and see see how they do that. So yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that should be something to check out. So always interesting. Okay, so whew, back. Okay, we got that out of the way. We've got 1 minute left. Gosh, I probably shouldn't even do the 7 reasons, right? Because that would okay. I'll do it. I will do it. Fine. I will jump into this. Okay, 7 reasons, real quick. 7 reasons. 7 reasons that 7 reasons that Rennies are really good at dealing with daylight savings time. Yeah, yeah. Okay. 7 reasons Rennies are really good at dealing with daylight savings time. Here we go. We'll tackle that. That's how we'll do it. Okay. Going with the flow. Rennies are great at going with the flow. I mean, you just roll with it. It's a very chaotic thing. It's a chaotic mess at Fair. I mean, I know it's all organized and everything's set up, but it never works out how you plan. There's always things that crop up, and if you're not adaptable, ooh, you're not going to last long. So yes, Rennies are very used to just going with the flow of things. Time change? Oh, okay. So yeah, yeah, that's pretty. I'm getting to that, Susan. Gosh, geez, come on, give me a chance. But yeah, you're right. That's coming up. Okay, you're not wrong. Okay, number 6. It has become a fair fixture. I mean, people look at it as, okay, this is the fair I do in the spring. For me, it's Sherwood. And yeah, at the third weekend, well, now since they shifted Sherwood, yeah, third weekend or second weekend, boom, we do daylight savings, and it's always you kind of expect it at this point. It becomes routine, and then in the fall, for me, it's Louisiana Ren Fair. For others, it's Texas Renaissance Festival or whatever they're doing. But yeah, I'm Louisiana Fair, and boom, daylight savings, get the extra hour, yay! And it's just become part of that routine that you go through, and you learn to expect it. So that kind of works. Okay, the number 5. That's what you were saying, Susan. Many stay up late anyway. I mean, come on, it's the weekend. They don't expect to get sleep on a Saturday night. They're up if they're camping, especially, they're hanging out with their friends and, drum circles and doing all this stuff and having a great time. So losing an extra hour of sleep, it's kind of like, okay, well, we didn't expect to get sleep anyway, so no problem. And yes, I'm just gonna put this up and back up what Kristen just said here with, I'm really glad it doesn't happen on the 3-day weekend. That would be dangerous. That would be very dangerous. Yes, 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 that is a wise statement. Very wise. Okay, number four. Number four is it's less traffic in the spring. Now, I know for people who camp, it's not an issue. For me, I live in Austin and I drive back and forth every night and morning. And Sunday morning, driving to Faire, there was no one. It was like a ghost town in Austin and on the highway. Nothing. And certainly a lot easier drive than it was the previous Sunday. So that was actually kind of nice. I'm going to be honest. Really kind of sweet. Just kind of driving out and not having to stress about traffic at all. And that was kind of cool. So I know this doesn't affect a lot of people, but it does affect me. So I threw it in at number 4. So, all right. Number 3, more sleep in the fall. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah. So it sucks in the spring, sure, but in the fall, you actually get an extra hour. So, you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to stay up late on Saturday night and hang out with my friends. Well, now you get an extra hour. So it is kind of a bonus in the fall. Just saying, it is really nice. It is really nice. Number 2, and okay, time is an illusion. Now, I'm just going to quote Douglas Adams from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. But yeah, so let's just say time is an illusion. Daylight savings time doubly so. So yes, that's I mean, if you, time is really, it's like a day planner for your life. That's what time really is. It's not supposed to govern your life or control it, or dominate it. It's a helpful tool that's an aid. It's like a day planner for organizing things. A little spreadsheet. That's it. And if things change, so what? It's not really that much of a big deal. It shouldn't be the end of the world. And number 1, the number 1, it's a marathon, not a sprint. A long while ago, after I started becoming a solo artist, I'd been playing for 10 years in a duo, and I was really not used to. I mean, I busked a little bit, but I wasn't used to just doing it much, and especially not doing it alone. So I asked a good friend of mine, Vince Conway, plays hammered dulcimer. Some of you may know him from the Faire circuit. I just said, hey, I know you busk all over the U.S. and Europe and do that a lot. You've always been a solo performer. Can I pick your brain about busking and just tell me everything you can think of that you've learned from busking and all that? He's like, yeah, let's get lunch. So we just got lunch, and he gave me everything he knew about busking in probably an hour and a half or so. And I asked a ton of questions, and he answered them all. He's great, really great guy, but really helped me out a lot. But one of the main things he said that he learned is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't worry about that individual tip or that one person who walks by or that one note in a song or whatever. If you do that, you're going to burn out really, really quick. And yeah, that's I really took that to heart, and I'm glad I did, because I think most Rennies kind of appreciate that, because you play the long game. I mean, patrons, they'll go for one day or a weekend, and then maybe they'll go for another weekend. I mean, some go for the whole run, but most don't. And the next weekend, they relax at home and sleep in and all of that kind of thing. For us, weekend after weekend after weekend after weekend, we have to keep doing it. And you have to look at it as a marathon. So don't worry about the little hour you lose or whatever. Don't stress about it. You just, it's play the long game on that. And I think Rennies have really kind of embraced that. And that really helps Rennies be more flexible with daylight savings time and not complain as much. Just saying. So that's my opinion. 7 reasons. Woohoo! Okay, well, it went a little over tonight, so it's 7:35 Central Time. So sorry about that, but always a pleasure. Oh yeah, and yeah, that's Kristen is right. It's Groundhog Day for 8 weekends. That's exactly how you put it. It's, I mean, but at the same time, it's not the. Well, I guess it kind of is because on in Groundhog Day, you kept trying to change little things, and things would change, but the base was always the same. But it was never exactly the same, and yeah, that's what he learned quickly, and that is kind of how Faire is. It's never exactly the same. It always changes a little bit. Ah. Oh gosh. Yeah, no, 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 no. That's yeah, yeah. We don't talk about that, Susan. I'm a lot better now. A lot more concise, succinct. I'm trying anyway. So yes, thanks again. Thanks for joining me tonight, and it's always a pleasure. Great talking with you and chatting and hanging out. And yeah, it's going to be a 3-day weekend for me, so I'm going to be extra sleepy for the next Fair Life next Monday. So yeah, take your bets how awake I'm going to be because it's going to be interesting. I'll try to recover in time, but we'll see how it goes. Take care, everyone. Have a wondrous day, a wondrous week, and as always, a fair life.